Hello and welcome to episode 36 of the Spotlight Games podcast. Today we'll be talking about our favorite Star Wars games, last week's State of Play's biggest announcements, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet updates, and of course the latest rumors swirling around the internet's grapevine. I'm your host Patrick, and as always I am joined by my sweet dumpster boy, Cayman Darty. Cayman, it's Tuesday, June 7th. Summer is in the air. How are we feeling? How you doing?
Woo! Definitely feeling it.
Yeah?
Definitely feeling the summer, the heat, the allergies.
Oh, sure.
100%. You know what I think is fantastic about being still in the middle of a pandemic 2 years running is that when you get hit with allergies, your first instinct gut reaction is just to be like,
I'm dead.
I've got COVID again. It's this time it's gonna really fuck me up.
Yeah.
And then you just realize, oh, my eyes are swollen and puffy because I've just inhaled so much of the shit that's floating around outside.
Yeah.
And I have to say, don't recommend it. I don't recommend going outside. You know why, Patrick?
Why?
Because this is the Spotlight Games podcast where we come to you every single day doing stuff like this. I don't know our intro.
Is that the reason why? Cayman, I'm not ready to go into the intro yet. I want to continue talking.
Okay.
I want to talk about I want to talk about this jersey that I'm wearing.
Tell me about that jersey.
Colorado Avalanche going to the Stanley Cup. For any of you watchers, listeners, viewers that like hockey, this year's it belongs to the Avalanche. We're coming. We, as a member of the Colorado Avalanche, I'm on their payroll.
Sure.
I haven't played yet. I think I will finally play in the finals, but
it's funny you mention that. I actually just learned this recently that there's the backup goalie.
Oh yeah.
Who just hangs
like the third
out
string goalie that's there in case both the goalies get hurt.
He just hangs out in the crowd all day, at the game, and then in a situation in which the goalie's gone and then the other goalie's gone, they just hey, Zamboni driver.
It's great.
It's your time to shine, baby.
Especially, it was 2 years ago, maybe, Carolina Hurricanes had a situation where this happened, and then their third string goalie, who was just off the street, was incredible. Had I don't remember if it was a shutout, but it was he played like an all-star, and it was awesome.
Love to hear it, man.
But hey, I've been on my soapbox enough about the greatest hockey team this side of the Mississippi, although they're on the other side of the Mississippi. So why don't we jump in and talk about video games, because this is the Spotlight Games podcast where each week we're going to talk about the latest and the greatest in the world of video games. You can get it by subscribing to our YouTube channel or by subscribing in your favorite podcast app. And hey, don't forget, you can be on the show by tuning in as we record live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time on twitch.tv/SpotlightGamesPod. So be sure to follow us on Twitch so that when we go live, you are notified that we are live, so that you can come and join and be in the chat. Because hey, if you say stuff to us during the show in the chat, we'll probably talk to you.
It's true.
So do that. Or you can be on the show by emailing us your thoughts and questions to mail at spotlightgames.net, or you can DM us on Twitter at SpotGamesPod, or on Instagram at SpotlightGamesPod, and TikTok as well. Same handle, Spotlight GamesPod. Cayman, this week in Save Trash Cinema, we have a mini-sode out. Tell the folks at home what is happening in the dumpster.
Okay, in the dumpster. Patrick, let me ask you a question.
Oh, boy.
Do you like Kung Fu movies?
I famously like a Kung Fu movie.
Have you ever thought when you're watching a Kung Fu movie, you're like, I kind of wish there was way more blood and maybe some ghosts and some vampires?
Ghosts and vampires, probably. I don't know that I don't ever want blood. I'm not opposed to blood and things, but I'm never give me more blood. Maybe it's why I'm anemic. Is that an offensive thing to say, that I don't want more blood all the time? You seem very offended by this.
I was going to say that I was muted, but that was a weird pregnant pause. I'm going to end that joke right there. Because we cover a 2013 Hong Kong film called Rigor Mortis.
Okay.
That is, shockingly enough, a Kung Fu horror film. It is incredibly weird. It is pretty gory, pretty violent. But ultimately, it's just one of those. Have you just like seen one of those movies where you're like, I've never seen anything like this before?
Sure.
Well, guess what? We've got that movie for you right now. It's called Rigor Mortis. And guess what? You can also listen to it right now as we are speaking, whether it's on Twitch, because guess what? It's live today. Or if you're on the podcast, it's already live. So guess what? Listen to it again. And
Boom.
if you want to watch the movie because you think, oh, this movie sounds really cool, interesting, or I don't want the movie slightly spoiled because we don't spoil films on minisodes. But if you're like, I don't even want a hint of a spoiler, it's on Tubi. Sponsored by Tubi.
Yeah, famously our
unofficial sponsor of the Save Trash Cinema.
The official unofficial sponsor.
The official unofficial sponsor.
I love that. When you said that about the movie, I sat here and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll watch it. Who knows? Because I wasn't on the minisode, so I have things to learn.
Yeah, but honestly, cool movie. Episode's really good. We just chat it up. We talk about what we really love about it, and that's kind of what minisodes are for. We like to bring to you weird movies that you've never heard of before, that kind of reinvigorate the soul and the spirit of trash cinema. And it's cool shit. So check it out.
Well, hey, why don't we talk about some video games? Because we're here to talk about video games. Cayman, let's start the show as we start all of our shows with what we've been playing. Cayman, talk to me about what you have been playing.
So I've actually been playing. I forgot to put this on the doc, Patrick. So I'm sorry.
Hey, it's okay.
So I've been playing this game. It's very interesting. So you play as this estranged couple, right?
Okay.
And the whole premise of the game is that you find like a clue to a lost treasure. And the whole premise of the game is that you essentially try to find this treasure while also rekindling your romance. And that is called Fool's Gold, starring Matthew McConaughey.
And
that's it. That's
no.
That's it. I'm not talking anymore about that.
What's her name? This is
Kate Winslet. Not Kate Winslet. Kate Winslet starred shit like that.
What is her name? Kate Hudson. This
Kate
is
Hudson.
I'm not going to sit here and accept this Kate Hudson erasure.
Kate Hudson erasure.
Fool's Gold is a movie starring both Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson. But
this episode,
what have you been playing?
This episode's gone off rails early. I have nothing new to bring to the table. My segment is very quick. Literally still just playing Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just, we're taking our sweet precious time. Also, it's just been really fucking busy the last week. We've got a lot of stuff going on in both of our worlds right now. You guys have been battling with COVID. I am currently getting the director of William to be on our show. So cheers to that.
Don't search what that is. I've been playing a couple of things. So
tell me.
This past weekend, the Mario Strikers Battle League demo, where you could actually play games, went live.
Shit.
So I got to play like an hour-ish of Mario Strikers Battle League, and I had a lot of fun. It's funny though. It's almost done the reverse of I think what it is supposed to do, which is I don't know that I'm gonna buy this game. And like, don't get me wrong, I had a lot of fun playing it, but it's like. And I don't know, maybe I'm going to wait for the reviews because there's probably a lot more to this game than just playing online. Like there's probably, maybe not probably, it's possible there's like a season mode or things like that I just don't know off the top of my head. But it was like, I had a lot of fun for that hour that I played and I put it down and I was like, cool, I had fun. And I don't like, I'm not like, I can't wait till Friday because it comes out this Friday on June 10th. And which is surprising because I was so excited for this game. And again, I had a blast. Like, it's essentially like a fighting game and a soccer game at the same time. Like it very much is when you're playing, it is equally important to try to score as it is to just beat the shit out of your opponent. And it's really fun. I
love the idea of that.
I know it's great. I just like, for whatever reason, I just don't feel the urge to like play it again after playing the demo, but that might change once there's like reviews out and people are talking about it. But yeah, I don't want this to be like a reason for you to not buy the game because I did have a lot of fun. I just don't know that that's what I want right now, essentially.
Sure.
So I did that. And then since we've last spoken, I've gotten 4 platinum trophies on PlayStation.
Oh,
I replayed Jedi Fallen Order, which I'll talk about in a second. But I also got the platinum trophy for My Name is Mayo, My Name is Mayo 2, and My Name is Mayo 3. As you mentioned, our house has been dealing with situations, both human and cat alike. We had an emergency vet situation with my cat Gus this weekend. So I have basically just been sitting monitoring this cat all weekend. And in the process of doing so, I basically did nothing but play video games and watch Star Wars cartoons. So I platinumed Jedi Fallen Order again, which what a great game. But yeah, My Name is Mayo 1, 2, and 3. I was like, you know what? It'll take me like 2.5 hours total. It'll be fun to talk about with Cayman on Tuesday. So I did it.
So here we are.
Here we are.
First question.
Yeah.
Do you know what your platinum count is up to?
I don't, but I can get it in like 30 seconds. So what's your second question?
What were your thoughts on My Name is Mayo?
So it's funny. My thoughts actually declined with every game. The first one, I was like, I'm 37 now. The first one, I'm like, this is a funny concept, and like with the stickers and like the little story, I thought was cute and funny. And then the second one, I was like, oh, I see. It's just more of the same, but they added in like these little extra things that I just kind of didn't need. And then the third one, especially, like I understood what they were doing, and I thought the story was like very sad. But the last leg, when you're like walking 10 miles as a jar of mayo, I was like, I just want to keep clicking the button and be done. But I think it's a funny concept. At one point, Rose walked in the room, and I was like, I'm playing a game where I just tap a jar of mayo, and she's like, what the fuck? I'm just gonna leave it at that. I won't explain more of what that is. But yeah, so I figured this is a game or a series you've been talking about for so long. I owed it to you to finally play them all.
Thanks, man. So I guess my thing is, I don't disagree. Like, I definitely think like the third game, like the last half of the third game, I was like, okay, like I'm not as big on this. So I could ask you, like, as someone who heard me speak about it, and being like, you tap a jar of mayonnaise,
yes,
but it is a very emotional journey. Do you agree that is indeed this situation?
For the third one more so than the first and second, I think, because the third one, like that game should have a trigger warning with what it talks about. Like it gets really dark. The third game, like if you've lost like a parent, like don't play that game unless you're okay with where you are mentally with that. But I was shocked at how much of a story there was, even though like there really wasn't, but there was. I don't know, it's weird. It's like I've never played a game where there is both a story and no story at the same time. It was very, very odd. But honestly, for me, I just did it for the trophies and to say the second one especially, I paid no attention. I just clicked the button, and when my controller vibrated, I would click the other sticker, and like I was listening to a podcast while doing it.
So I now have to inform you that there's another game that's not My Name is Mayo.
Oh boy.
It's called Mr. Massagey.
Okay.
And it is a dating sim.
Okay.
And at the end of your dates,
oh no,
you get a massage.
Oh no.
And you were told to put the controller around your neck and or other places of your body.
Oh no. I won't be playing that one. Is this one of those ones where like it's a really easy trophy, or it's just weird and gross?
It's both. But it's also done by the guys who made My Name is Mayo.
Oh, okay. That's the connection.
Yeah, there's actually, if you didn't play Mr. Masagi before you played My Name is Mayo 2, there are actually a shit ton of Easter eggs that tied directly into that game.
I see.
Yeah, but yeah, you should, if you just want a little extra vibration in your life.
But yeah, so, and then I also played a shit ton of Fallen Order, and like, I cannot wait for Jedi Survivor enough. Like as I've been talking about a lot on the podcast recently, I've had a lot of issue figuring out what I want to be playing. Like I've been jumping around a lot. PlayStation's having a huge sale right now. Like I bought Ghostwire Tokyo because it's half off, and I played for like 5 minutes, and I'm going to go back to it. I was like, it's just not like, it's not what I want right now. And, but Jedi Fallen Order was exactly what I wanted. And so I'm trying to figure out if that was what I wanted, like a third person action AAA game. maybe the next thing I want is the same thing. So I'm gonna see. I might give Final Fantasy VII Remake another try next, but also like this Friday, we're getting a couple new games. We're getting The Quarry, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
And Mario Strikers Battle League. So yeah, we'll see. But with that in mind, Cayman, Jedi Fallen Order, I wanted to, the first segment of today's show, we're not going to start with some news. I actually want to start with our favorite Star Wars games because there have been a lot over the years. And I'm going through a Star Wars kick right now because of Fallen Order. I finished the Clone Wars show and I've started watching Rebels. I'm living in the galaxy far, far away. A galaxy, not the galaxy far, far away. But so I wanted to open this up to you. I should have asked our audience. My mind has not been in the right mode.
Hey, understandable, buddy.
But so let's go through and talk about our favorite Star Wars games. So let's start with you, Cayman. What's one of your favorites?
I'm going to go with the cult classic, fan favorite, a game that was just recently quote unquote remastered. Not really too remastered.
Sure.
Star Wars Pod Racer.
Hell yeah.
Specifically in 64.
Now this is pod racing.
Such a great game.
Yeah.
Look, if there's anything, and there's not much that came out of episode 1 that was worth a shit. Pod racing, just this one particular game, is a highlight. I put it as like, as much as I love Fallen Order, and there's a bunch of games in the Star Wars universe I really love. There's something about Pod Racer that's just like, I don't know, man. Just it hits every time.
It does hit for sure. When it came out on Switch again recently, I got it and played through the whole thing, and I was like, this game is so fun.
Yeah, and it still plays really well.
Yeah, there's actually
it's crazy
in Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. There's a little pod racing bit. It definitely is nowhere near as good as the game, but there's like a whole level that's pod racing. It's fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, good pick there. My first that I'm going to go with, Fallen Order is on my list, but I just talked about that. So what I will say about Fallen Order is I think like the period that it's set in, I think is just a really exciting period that just hadn't been used very much at that time. And now, because like it takes place around the same time as now the Obi-Wan show, and so it's a cool, I like that they kind of started that trend. To my knowledge, there's probably other stuff that is in that time period, but and like toward the end of the game, I won't spoil it in case you haven't played it, because if you haven't played it, you should play it. But there's like this huge moment that happens at the end of the game that I remember when it happened the first time blew me away, and then playing it again, I was like 5 minutes until that point, and I had completely forgotten that it happened. And so I'm like 5 minutes from that happening, I'm like, oh my god, this is about to happen, and I had that same like giddy moment again.
That moment is so cool.
Oh, it's awesome. But yeah, so there's that. But I also want to talk about Star Wars Bounty Hunter. Is this a game you ever played, Cayman?
My cousin had it, and so I dabbled a little bit while he played.
Yeah.
But I never like owned a copy, which
we had this one on GameCube. It probably came out on PS2 and Xbox as well, but we had this on GameCube. But you played as Jango Fett, who is the OG clone, who they cloned everyone from. But it's just like a third-person action, like puzzle platformer game, and it came out at a time we were talking before the show started, where that time in my life, like 2000 to like 2004 or 5, was when I was like the most obsessed with Star Wars. Like after the first one came out and then I watched the originals, then I was like, I just want video games that are Star Wars. And they didn't come out. I feel like there weren't a ton of Star Wars games when we were kids, but there were like just enough. But because there were just enough, there weren't many in like there would only be like one third-person action game. There would only be like one racing game. Like there was usually just like one of each genre. And so this one I just remember liking a lot. And it just felt like really cool being Jango Fett. I haven't played it since then, so it very well could be complete dog shit in the year 2022.
It's fair.
But
it's fair.
What's another one for you, Cayman?
So I'm a big fan of one level in particular of Republic Commando.
Ooh, hell yeah.
So I'm always one that says that you need to be different. Do something, right?
Sure.
With an established franchise, you need to do something different. In Republic Commando, and I will say, caveat, Fallen Order did it a little bit, but there's one level in Republic Commando that is straight up just a horror game.
Yeah.
Like it just goes from just like your kind of third person shooter on the PlayStation 2 to just straight up fucking horror.
Yeah. First person shooter,
And
right? Wasn't it a first person shooter?
this shit, I might be wrong.
I think it was a first person shooter.
Huh. Well,
I'll look it up. Keep
I'll
going.
tell you. Yeah, I'll tell you how much I remember from it. But I do distinctly
It
remember
was
just
20 years ago.
this one level. And basically you get like cut off from your platoon inside of a derelict ship. And essentially they kind of just set it up like there are zombie stormtroopers like in this ship and like monsters and shit running around. And it is scary as fuck. And the thing is, what I think is so cool about it is like from like what I remember, especially this moment happened when I was playing Dead Space for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I like had this weird nostalgic kick where it was like, this reminds me a ton of that one level from Republic Commando. Just like this weird, you don't see it. And with a franchise like Star Wars, like the reason we don't see this anymore is because like you don't mess with the formula because the formula makes money. But in this particular situation, they did.
Yeah.
And here we are. We're like, this is kind of an interesting little game that like I don't think gets enough praise for what it does.
I think so too. It also at the time, so this game came out in 2005. It is a first person shooter. But it came out at a time. So in 2005, I think we had just gotten, or we were about to get episode 3, but there wasn't a ton of the main 6 movies Star Wars stuff outside of like there were a bunch of novels and things, but like there were no shows, there were no other movies. And so something that I think Republic Commando did really cool was a lot of the game. I remember, maybe not a lot of it, but I do remember one level specifically being on Kashyyyk where all the Wookiees live. And it was one of those things where like at that time we hadn't really ever seen where the Wookiees were from. Like there's a little bit in episode 3 about Kashyyyk, but it was one of those things where like it's really cool to see these like planets and things that we've heard a lot about, but we've never actually seen. And like seeing it through a video game, I thought at that time it was like peak like fan service content for me at that age. Like 100%. I can't believe I'm a clone in Kashyyyk killing droids. Like, oh my God. So yeah, Republic Commando would have been on my list if it wasn't on your list. Another one for me, The Force Unleashed. This was another one where like when it came out there, we had games at that point where you could be a Jedi, but we had never had a game on like this with this like graphical fidelity that was like just a straight up action game. So it was one of those things where like playing it and being the Padawan of like Darth Vader was like, oh, this, because this was also probably one of the first games where like you don't really play as the good guy, like at all. And I mean, you kind of do, but you don't.
You can be good,
right?
But you're still a villain.
Yeah. I just remember, and like Sam Witwer, I think he's a great actor.
Sam Witwer.
Yeah, that was one of those ones where at the time I just felt like we had never had a game like that before.
Sure, yeah, I like it. That was a great selection.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm gonna go with, and I'm just gonna do this all together. The Lego Star Wars games.
Sure, all of them.
There's no reason not to just put them all together. Yeah. I mean, sure, there's some variations in quality and grading that you can probably give each individual game. There's several of them. But there's something charming about turning something like Legos, whether it's something like Star Wars, whether it's Star Wars or it's comic books or Harry Potter, or like whatever it is. It's something fun about pulling it all together in like just a very kid-friendly package. And the way that they can kind of make, and which I think that the team is it Traveler's Tales?
Yeah, TT Games, I think they go by now.
And so like there's something about their writers that are just able to take some very serious subject matter and just make it cute and fun. Like, I distinctly remember when Obi-Wan and Anakin have their big fight at the end of episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
And like the way they do it in the Legos games is just absolutely fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
And it works so well. And it just kind of shows the creativity behind the teams that work on these games. And there's just, it's one of those games. Like, I just feel like it just scratches an itch.
Sure.
It's not sure why, but they always seem to just click. You've
not played the new one still, right?
I haven't. That's on my to-do list once I'm done with Tiny Tina's.
Yeah, you're really gonna like it. I'm excited for you to get your hands on it because it's so good. I don't know why that's not on my list. Maybe because you talked about Lego Star Wars. Next one for me. This is another old one.
Okay.
Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, the movie, the game. I don't think it was called that, but
incredible.
Like, here's the thing. There is a lot of prequel slander out there. A lot of it, arguably, for good reason.
Sure.
I am a defender of the prequels. There are problems with them, but like I just chalk them up to fun action movies. But this game, I was obsessed with.
Oh, yeah.
For multiple reasons. It had FOV. So it had like the cinematics were from the movie. And in 2005, like I also remember this kind of with The Dark Knight when it came out a few years later, was like YouTube, if it was a thing then, I don't remember off the top of my head when YouTube started, content was just not easily available then. Like it wasn't everywhere. Like you couldn't just get on your phone because you didn't have one and go search to like watch bits of these movies. You'd have to put a DVD in and watch it. And so I was like, I get to play a game and watch parts of the movies. Like that was literally like a perfect combination for me. But also it was just a really fun game. And then the final level of the game, I still think is like kind of unbeatable because it's the final battle with Anakin and Obi-Wan, but you get to choose who you play as. And
or if you're playing in co-op mode, which you can do, each player plays against each other.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about the co-op mode.
Which was so revolutionary.
Yeah,
so fucking cool.
And like this game was an action game.
Yeah.
Also, it was a fighting game at the same time. Like they designed it to where when you would have these battles, it like completely changed the way that the game was, and it was basically like you were playing a fighting game. But
there
it
were also
didn't
like RPG mechanics in it, so you could like upgrade your character to have like cooler moves and shit.
And like it didn't feel like a fighting game because I've never really liked fighting games. Like as a kid, I would play fighting games from time to time, but it was one of those things where like I played them because we had them because like Street Fighter was like the most popular thing at the time. Sure. But I remember not ever like really loving fighting games. And I think part of that was maybe at the time I just didn't know like there weren't as many games accessible to me that were like really good on story. But I think at that time, even like I wanted more from the video games I was playing, and just fighting just wasn't enough for me. But yeah, and then if you play as Anakin, there's like an alternate ending, which is I love that shit.
So like there was like this time frame during games where we had multiple games like this. There was like the Fantastic Four, the movie game.
Oh yeah.
There was Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks, where they were like leaning so hard into like couch co-op mode. And this was one of those games that like did the same thing, where they like leaned into the couch co-op mode. And we just don't see that anymore. Like that doesn't happen. And that's that definitely is a very special game, I'd say.
I would agree. What else you got?
I'm going to go with the Battlefront 2.
Hell yeah.
Not that Battlefront 2, but the Battlefront 2.
Correct.
Yes. And if you know
OG
what I mean,
Battlefront
you know 2. what I mean. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Yeah, man. Like that's the game that I was like one of the most. I couldn't even tell you how many hours I put into the original Battlefront 2. Like
same.
Countless hours. Another game that you could play co-op mode, which apparently the new Battlefront goes. So yes, love the game. I absolutely. Just why they can't fucking make that game again.
Yeah, I agree.
Infuriates the shit out of me.
Yeah. I remember as a kid, like the kids in our neighborhood, we would just all come over and like make like custom games for multiplayer where like it's just nothing but Sith and Jedi in the battlefield. And it's just like those kinds of like being able to make your own sandbox essentially. We're on Mos Eisley. I'm Luke. My neighbor is Darth Maul. Like, come on. They don't make them like they used to, Cayman.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
100% not at all.
Last one for me, it's a bit of a cheat, but because I'm combining two games, but I figure talking about them at the same time makes sense. And it's the Knights of the Old Republic games. To this day, the first Knights of the Old Republic is like a top 10, potentially top 5 game for me. One of my most anticipated games right now is the remake. I really hope that we see a little bit more of it this coming weekend with Summer Game Fest and the Xbox Showcase, although we probably wouldn't see it at Xbox because I think it might be a PlayStation exclusive potentially. I don't remember. But I really hope that we see a little bit of that because this was to go back to my previous point where like I didn't realize that I wanted more story in my video games. This was one of the first games I played, if not the first game I played, where I was like, oh my God, this story is incredible. This is like better than the movies. And I remember at the time, because it's turn-based, I remember at the time, at first not really liking the turn-based gameplay and fighting style, but I like grew to like it over time. But yeah, it's just like an old school RPG. Like you get to choose if you want to be good or bad, and the story, like building your own party. It was basically like the first iteration of what Mass Effect would become because it's the same developers.
Oh,
and it's
100%.
like, and that's also one of my favorite games. So like it makes sense. But yeah, KOTOR 1 and 2, recently they announced, I think we talked about it on the show, that KOTOR 2, they're remastering it, not remaking it. They're just remastering it to bring it on Switch. And I definitely, I can't wait to play that again. Cause yeah, I love those games. They're incredible.
I agree.
Last one for you, Cayman?
Last one for me. Gonna go with the OG Rogue Squadron.
Hell yeah.
Played a ton of that as a kid. Looking back on it, I'm shocked I put as much time into a game like that just because it was like a space shooter.
Yeah.
And there's some like really cool levels, like very iconic levels. I distinctly remember there's like one level in particular where you have to like do the wrap around the legs of the and like take it down. Like that kind of stuff's really cool. In today's time, with kind of my interest, they have changed dramatically. But as a kid, growing up on Star Wars, like being able to relive those moments for the first time, nothing beats it.
Yeah, unbeatable for sure. So yeah, those are our favorite Star Wars games. There's like a bunch of good ones out there that we didn't talk about, but yeah. If you fucking go play some Star Wars games because we're about to get a lot more great ones. Thank you for humoring me, Cayman.
You're welcome.
I love talking about Star Wars. Let's talk about some news, though.
Let's talk about some news.
You might have seen, dear listener and or viewer, that this past week on Thursday, we live streamed our reactions to the state of play from last week. Now, we didn't put it on podcast services because it doesn't really make sense. It was very much a video first product.
Sure.
But I feel like it would be a disservice to the audience who didn't tune in to not talk about state of play. Now, we're not going to talk about everything down to the nitty gritty about it, but we're going to talk about kind of the major announcements. So if you do want to hear more about the kind of the smaller stuff, go to our YouTube. That's up now. It's also on VOD on Twitch. But I don't think the VODs on Twitch last forever. I think they expire eventually. So go check that out. So last week they hosted a state of play and a bunch of news came from it. So kind of from top to bottom, this is what they announced. Opened the show, came in, I think, unbelievably with Resident Evil 4 remake.
Absolutely insane.
They're now, Capcom is not calling it a remake and they're not calling it a remaster. They're calling it a reimagining. Which
I mean, they've kind of used similar. Yeah, they've used similar language when referencing Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes.
Yeah.
Because they are. I mean, these are definitely reimaginings. They're entirely different games, essentially, with the same story beats. So I kind of think we kind of all knew that going in from some of the leaks and rumors and XYZ. But holy fucking shit, what a start.
God.
Because we did like this, there was a distinct moment at the beginning of the game when we're doing like our predictions, like pre-show. And I'm like, yeah, there's like a 0.1% chance that we will see Resident Evil tonight. And then boom, first thing we see, Resident Evil is there.
Yeah.
How the fuck did this happen?
It looks so good. I will say I was like 2% bummed because when they first started showing it, there's this guitar going, and like I thought they were about to show us The Last of Us, either remake or Factions or something like that. Ended up being Resident Evil. But like, if it's not going to be The Last of Us, next best thing for me is Resident Evil 4 remake because it's also one of my favorite games. So yeah, it looks great. They gave us a release date. They said it is coming March 24th of next year, and I feel like this game has been rumored for so long, and that is almost a year away. I feel like they can hit this, and I hope that they can because I would love. We'll be 2 months removed from Dead Space remake, and I will be ready at that point for some more spookies. Because they also said that they're making some VR content for PSVR 2, that's currently in development. So we'll see what that is.
That's if there's like the whole reason why I think that is realistic. One is because sure, this is a reimagining, but there's still going to be the exact same locale, the exact same. They're not going to like change every single thing about this. There's going to be things that are going to be slightly different, but a lot of it's going to remain the same. So they have the bones there. The one thing that keeps me, honestly, part of the reason why I think that that's the release date and it's not sooner, like a January release date, is because of the VR content. Like I could really see like that the reason they're waiting is so it'll be like, instead of it being like, hey, Resident Evil 4 remake launches on January 1st, VR content is launching in April. Like it doesn't make sense. One, you're giving your team a little bit more time to be able to really polish and work any kinks out before launch date. And you can also get a little bit closer to when that VR launch is going to happen so that there's not like a died out interest. And so that makes sense. But I do think, and I stand by this, just like you said, I do think that March 24th release date is 100% hittable.
Yeah.
Unless they're just way far behind in development. Yeah. And we're all shocked. Because we've been hearing rumors that this game was coming out since like the first sales numbers released for Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
So like we definitely knew this was going to happen. It was just more of a matter of time, not a matter of if.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, so they've done 2, 3, and now 4. Are they going to do 1? Are they going to do 5 next? Like, what is? I'm so interested to see what they do next because obviously, it seems like half of what their Resident Evil kind of product is the new first person games, 7, 8. I'm assuming next will be 9, and then the other half is remaking these old ones in the third person. So, like, yeah, what do you think is next for them?
Resident Evil 1.
You think?
I would be shocked if we see Resident Evil 5 or 6 ever getting touched again.
Really? Mm-hmm. I feel like I could see 5. I don't think we will see 6. I feel like even though I mostly agree, like I think it's very doubtful. If we saw either of them, I could see 5, especially from a reimagining standpoint, because like they could fix a lot what's wrong with that game.
True.
And make it more of like a horror game than an action game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I suppose I agree to some extent.
I hope 1 is next. I hope that is 1.
The catch that I have with that I'm like, I don't know. I don't think so. Is really boils down to just the fundamentals of that game. The game was built around co-op.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And so I just don't know. I mean, also we've definitely seen like that they've been very reluctant to really touch anything in the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 years. I could definitely see them going back and re-releasing 1 again in an actual like rebuilt format. But there are a ton of other games. Yeah. Code Veronica, not Umbrella Chronicles, but there's like a bunch of like Zero. I mean, there's a bunch of other shit they can do. Hell, they could do Resident Evil Survivor and actually do those 2 games, which are, if anyone listening even knows the fuck I'm talking about, then you're a fucking nerd. You
I
know, you could do
wonder.
those games justice.
That's true. I wonder if they would even do 5 again, but like truly redo it. Like it's not co-op focused, and they
Mm.
like truly like capital R reimagining.
Part of me
Perhaps.
thinks like to do like a full reimagining of 5 would be way harder
Yeah, maybe.
than to do the other games, because Resident Evil 1, 2, 3 were all PlayStation 1 like PlayStation 1 games.
Yeah,
And so, I mean, sure, you got the bones, you got the meat, and you just pretty much can build off of that. Um, and so I feel like it's just easier to take a game that like that than to take a game like 5, which has like fully fleshed out massive cinematics, you
yeah,
know, big levels, you know, more complicated things going on in it. Like rebuilding that seems
sure.
way more difficult than taking a game that essentially you're just making a brand new game. You just know what the levels look like.
Right. What do you think about, because like here's the reason I think that they'll continue this is because these all keep making great money. Like they're really
Mm.
good uh cash cows. So I think one definitely makes the most sense. Code Veronica, I think makes the most sense. Do you think they would ever do that to Dino Crisis, or do you think that's way too niche of a title?
So I've been clamoring for since the Resident Evil 2 remake to get a Dino Crisis game.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't think, I genuinely deep down inside really think it's a matter of when. When are
No,
we
yeah.
actually going to get it? I think we will get it. I think there's 100% an audience there. We've definitely seen, because during like the 360 era, up and probably until early PlayStation 4, Xbox One, like horror games were more action
Yeah.
focused. And a lot of some of these older games, like some of the other stuff that, you know, we've been doing has kind of died off. But now, like the resurgence because of games like Outlast and games like Amnesia,
Yeah.
horror is taking such a bigger role. And I definitely think that there is a group of people that are fervent fans of Dino Crisis that like you could legitimately make Dino Crisis again and people would be like, fuck yeah. And people who've never even heard of it, they just go, oh shit, a new horror game. Like
Yeah.
I want to play more horror games. And this is like a huge resurgence of horror in video games right now. And I think Dino Crisis is one of those games that could excel.
Yeah. I think for those of you that might not be aware of Dino Crisis, it was essentially Resident Evil, same team, but instead of zombies, it's dinosaurs, basically. And I don't remember the premise of it, but it's one of those like cult classics. Like people always want it to come back, and it just never does. And there were those rumors I think we talked about a few weeks ago of we think that that's going to be coming to the PS Plus, like the new service is one of the classics. I do want to bring in a friend of the show, John, is in the chat. He he's had a couple good things that have made me laugh. He said Resident Evil's had a ton of success. They can do a new and remake at the same time and not milky the water. I mean, muddy the water. And then he followed up by saying any game is going to rake in the mommy. I mean, money. Yeah. And then also a quick little toe tap into our last topic. John said in his mind, best game is Lego Star Wars episodes 1 through 3. Fight Me. Actual best game is Fallen Order because Metroidvania games are pog. So yeah, we stand a king named John. So yeah, that's a lot about Resident Evil. Let's talk about the next game that was announced, and we can kind of breeze past this one. Might upset some people, but we don't care about Street Fighter 6. And Street Fighter 6 was announced. Looks like a fighting game.
I actually have a lot to talk about. Actually, I don't have a lot to talk about.
Great.
No one gives a fuck about Street Fighter 6.
Great.
Get the fuck out of here.
Great.
If you want Street Fighter, if you want some Street Fighter shit, go listen to Save Trash Cinema when we do Street Fighter, and then you'll hate it just as much as we do.
You son of a bitch. That's a little Jean-Claude Van Damme line. Okay, after that, we got an extended look at a few VR2 titles. One I want to talk about briefly is Horizon Call of the Mountain and the Walking Dead Saints and Sinners sequel. Now, the interesting thing about the Saints and Sinners sequel came in, which is the piece I want to talk about, is in the state of play, we didn't catch this. It said coming 2022. We did catch it, but we didn't like think what that could mean. But then they gave an update afterward that said 2022 will be the VR1 release, and it's coming to VR2 in 2023. So I think this is our first time that we've actually heard any sort of a date around VR2. Now, just because they say VR2 in 2023 doesn't mean that VR2 is coming in 2023, but at the very least, it will be available.
It's coming in 2023.
And I think something that we kind of talked about in the show on last Thursday that we live streamed, they didn't announce a date, which kind of made us both think it might not be coming this year. I feel like the window to announce that is slowly quickly closing.
Here's my thing on this one. If you're getting a PSVR 1 release in 2022, PSVR 2 doesn't come out until 2023, it's not coming. Like PlayStation VR 2 will be 2023. There's no reason that you would, in a game like this, because honestly, all you could really do is like, I guess, make the motion controls a little bit different or make the graphical fidelity a little bit better. But honestly, why would you set it up like that? Right? Like there's a lot of wheels turning in my head that might not make sense, but like if you're telling me, right? Like, okay, we've got a version of the game and that's going to come out in 2021 or 2022. And that there's a version there, but then next year you'll get a different version of the game for the new something doesn't line up there.
Yeah. Also, though, interestingly, because they've said in the past, like they weren't ever explicit about it, but they've kind of made it seem like it is unlikely that VR games will be just like natively compatible on VR2. Different hardware.
Motion controls too would be.
But like, so then the question is, which we don't know the answer to, is it coming to both because they're designing it separately for both, or is it coming to both because maybe they figured out a way to port these games easier? I don't know. That's something that I'm assuming they probably designed it for both from the ground up, but
I think we're also looking at it from the wrong perspective as well, because something that like goes through my head is that why would you release PlayStation VR 2 in the holiday in the 2022 holiday sphere, right? If you can't even release PlayStation 5.
Sure. Yeah. They probably want more 5s on the market before they sell VR.
Yeah. And so it makes more sense, even if you have the hardware, just to delay it. Now, sure, you're going to eat some cost and there's going to be inventory taxes and shit like that you're most likely, that's big shit. Sony can afford that though.
Sure. So
my thing though is like, because we're still not at a point where you're seeing PlayStation 5s just native in the wild to purchase.
Sure.
We're getting a little bit better and they're becoming more available a little bit. So my thing is like, if I'm Sony, I would rather have a big push during the holiday season for PlayStation 5s, then launch mid-year, probably April, for PlayStation VR 2, and be like, now that we have X amount of consoles in the wild, PlayStation VR 2 is now available and it runs best on your PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
Marketing wise, that makes more sense, which also kind of lines up with my theory about Resident Evil 4, where it's like Resident Evil 4 launches in March, the end of March. So if we're looking at like a late April, early May VR release, because you would assume they want to keep it kind of close together, so like word of mouth is still hot. That would be like a perfect time to like line that up with the launch of PlayStation VR 2, or slightly after PlayStation VR 2 launches, so that you can make sure you're really like, people got it now. Here it comes. Now all of the people who've got PlayStation VR 2, get ready. Here comes the big boy.
Right.
Boom. Nailed it.
Nailed it. Take it to the bank, folks.
Take it to the big boys. That's a bar.
Take it to the bank, boys. After that, we saw what was actually, I think, my most exciting bit of the show, which was the Callisto Protocol. This is a spiritual successor to Dead Space, which we've both gushed about Dead Space several times in the history of Spotlight Games. It's being made by I think it was the same creative director of Dead Space is now the creative director at this new studio that is making
Yep.
Callisto Protocol, and then just
Striking
a bunch of
Distance,
Striking Distance, and a bunch of Visceral was the studio that did Dead Space back in the day. A bunch of Visceral developers are here as well, and it looks Dead Space as hell. It looks metal as hell. It looks spooky as hell, and it got a release date of December 2nd, 2022, which I think is kind of genius, and I really hope they can hit it, because we talked about this a lot in our other show, was that they got to get this out before Dead Space, because if they don't, I think there is the potential that it ends up losing a lot of potential, because Dead Space has that name cachet. Callisto Protocol, completely new IP. No one is going to know that just from its name.
You're gonna,
yet.
100% going to want to launch this before Dead Space launches, so you set the bar and then hope that you achieve it. You don't want to come after the Dead Space remake, unless the Dead Space remake is shit.
Right, which at the moment doesn't look like it's going to be, based on the little bits that they've shown us. But like if you're watching on YouTube or on Twitch right now, like we're showing the trailer, it just looks so awesome.
Hey, do you remember when you were like earlier in the episode and you're like, I don't sit there and I really think like I need more blood.
I did say that, and I meant it.
And then this trailer is like so much blood.
Well, yeah,
so fucking violent.
Sure.
Gory as shit, and I love it. I'm all.
That doesn't have to be. Those things can be mutually exclusive, young man.
More blood.
More blood.
More blood.
John in the chat, to go back one piece before we move on to the next piece about VR. He says, I bet you dev teams for VR is small and expensive. Porting games is low on priority, so that they're piecemealing low priority games to fast track for profitable VR games. I think that probably lines up.
That's a solid point.
Yeah, solid point, John. Next up, we saw Stray, which famously is the next game coming out for me on Fantasy Critic League. They showed us some gameplay. They gave us the rumored release date of July 19th. You play as a cat and you're going around the world. It looks awesome, and I can't wait to play it. And then, but they announced something really cool, which is if you are going to move to either the extra or premium tier of PlayStation Plus, you're going to get it for free in July when it comes out in the States.
Fuck yeah.
So that's awesome. Very excited for that. After that, we got Marvel's Spider-Man, and which they actually announced this after the show. In the show, they only told us Marvel's Spider-Man, but also Miles Morales is coming to PC later this summer as well. So any of you PC dorks, if you didn't get to play Marvel Spider-Man,
you fucking number crunching losers.
I'll tell you what, though. I said this on the show. If I ever get a Steam Deck, which I want one, can't wait to play Spider-Man on the go portably with a Steam Deck and be a PC dork myself, a mobile PC dork. After this, we got Eternights.
Looks dumb.
So here's the thing, Cayman. We both said it looked dumb when we watched it. I've learned more about this game, and I am actually now very excited for this game, and I'll tell you why. It's a dating action game set in the apocalypse, set while the apocalypse is coming, and it's coming to PS5 and PS4 in early 2023. You know why this game is being made, Cayman? I don't know the gentleman's name who is the lead developer on this. I think it sounds like it's a small team. He played a little known game called Persona 4 Golden. And he played a game called Persona 5, and he said, I want to make a game like those games.
You're fucking kidding me.
I'm not fucking kidding you. This game, so there's like confidants in it.
Oh,
it's basically
God. Okay, never mind. I'm sold. We're in. We're back in, boys.
It's basically what if Persona was an action game, essentially, instead of being turn-based. So like,
Jesus Christ.
I think the name is still trash.
It is a trash name.
It went from like, I will never think about Eternights again to is Eternights one of my most anticipated games now. So then now the challenge is, are you going to nail it? Are you going to, you've said this, you've got me in with Persona 4 Golden and Persona 5. Now you got to deliver with Eternights. So that's coming early 2023 to PS4 and PS5. After that, we got Rollerdrome, a futuristic skater shooter, which is coming to PS4 and PS5 in the fall from the team that brought us Ollie World. And you mentioned earlier, Cayman, rumor is this might also be coming to the PlayStation Plus tiers when it releases. But what did you think about Rollerdrome? Because I thought it looked fucking awesome.
This game looks dope as shit. I just really hope that it's not a battle royale. And we kind of talked about it. We don't know all the details yet, but we don't think, just from what we've seen, that it will be. I could definitely see this game being a battle royale.
Yeah,
it's got a lot of stuff that makes me think that. However, if it's not, this game could potentially be game of the year for.
It looks so.
No,
cool.
Never mind. Elden Ring happened, so that probably not.
Sure.
But who knows? This game could probably be a sleeper hit.
It looks
1,000% a sleeper hit.
It looks like if Tony Hawk was a shooter, essentially.
It looks so, and the art style.
It looks awesome.
So fucking cool.
Our style looks dope.
Holy shit, it looks cool.
That is one I definitely will be keeping my eye on because that looks dope as hell. And then they closed out the show with a pretty big one too. In Final Fantasy 16, we got our first extended look at the game. Not the first time we've seen it, but we finally saw gameplay. We saw the HUD. They had a hype trailer, and they announced that it's currently touting a summer of 2023 release window. We'll see. We both, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking it's going to be more of like, if it is summer, it's going to be late summer, probably August, maybe early September. Definitely think this is probably more of a holiday season release, but
but it looked dope. Like it looked cool.
It looks really cool. I'm in for it. I think it was kind of a shit way, not a shit way to end the show, but when you start the show with Resident Evil 4, that's really tough to follow.
Yeah.
And I guess, I don't know, man. I just was kind of expecting something that we hadn't seen before. And we got this, which is fine. Like, I definitely think that there's reasons why you would start with Resident Evil 4 instead of leaving it to the end. But also at the same time, we live in a world in which you can just watch it on YouTube later.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, like, I kind of felt like this ended a little flat. The adding in a release window, I think, was a smart move to kind of build up a little bit of hype. But I definitely think it could have ended a lot worse than this.
Yeah, for sure. And like, it's one of those things, like, the more I thought about it, I think we landed in like the 4 out of 5 golden shovels is what we gave it. Yeah. And the more I thought about it, I was like, that was actually like one of the best state of plays that we've gotten, because it was it was consistent. Like, a lot of the issues with state of plays in the past is a lot of the time they have inconsistency where, like, there might be 1 or 2 really cool things, and then they just fuck about for like half of it. And it's like a bunch of this stuff they're showing us is just, they're showing us Deathloop for the 19th time or something like that. So overall, hell yeah, Sony, you did it.
You did it.
We're already at an hour somehow. We love talking about video games, Cayman, but
we do.
There's some stuff I still want to talk about. So might be a little bit of a long show, folks. Buckle up, because the next thing we're going to talk about is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. We got some updates. We'll kind of breeze through this one a little bit, but there is some cool shit that I wanted us to talk about. So Cayman, if you'd be so kind, would you like to tell the folks at home about Scarlet and Violet?
Hell yeah. This comes from Joe Screbbles at IGN. He says, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet will be released on November 18th as revealed in a new trailer. The game will feature a new open world structure and 4-player co-op for the first time. The trailer shows off a lot of new mainline Pokemon games world and introduces 2 new legendary monsters, Koraidon, who appears in Scarlet, and Miraidon in Violet. Quote, these 2 Pokemon are said to have powers that far surpass those of other Pokemon, end quote, reads a description on the Pokemon website. But details about Koraidon and Miraidon are still shrouded in mystery. The trailer also included a look at 2 new Pokemon professors, Seda and Toro, who appear in Scarlet and Violet respectively. We also got a look at Nemona, the player's character's new friend, who's an experienced Pokemon trainer and serves as a reliable guide for you on your adventures. As previously announced, these will be the first fully open world Pokemon games in the series. However, what we didn't previously know was that Scarlet and Violet would see a very different structure too. The site confirms that the game include a, quote, world that you're free to explore at your leisure and not in any order dictated by the story, end quote. We also learned that the games would include 4-player co-op alongside the normal trading and battling multiplayer options. Patrick.
Yes.
I just want to start off and say, Seda and Toro. Well, I'm at work today. We're having a conversation about this. One of the girls at the table. Liz says, she goes, they're too hot to be Pokemon professors.
Yeah.
These are two beautiful people.
I have concerns, Cayman. To say
There's
the least,
gonna
I
be
have concerns.
a lot of weird sex shit on the internet between these two.
I fear for what the internet will become when this game comes out, because there's going to be a lot of raunchy
raunch
Pokemon
Can I get a
stuff.
side of raunch dressing with my Pokemon, please?
It's happening this summer.
It's definitely happening.
Or not summer, when it fall November 18th,
18th,
a week before my birthday.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I couldn't be more hyped for this game after how much I loved Arceus, leaning into the full open world.
Yeah,
the Pokemon professors are hot as shit. And
fuck yeah, they are.
This game can't come soon enough.
Also, legendaries are sexy as fuck.
Legendaries are dope. I'm gonna be going Violet because Violet's my favorite color. Purple's my favorite
Beautiful.
color. And like this robot Pokemon with like jet boosters, I'm ready for this. And then also 4-player co-op for the first time. That's really cool. We'll see how that works. Like
remember?
Go ahead.
Remember we were talking about Arceus, and I was like, you know what this game is missing that would just like I really want because of this game. To be able to play it with sexy professors 1,000%. But I was like, I want to play this co-op with a friend.
Yeah, 100%. Here we are.
Scarlet
baby. Violet, baby.
I love it, man. I like something we had talked about before, where it was like, are they going to lean into like, because we know this game was in development at the same time Arceus was. Like, if Arceus is a success, will they do more things in tune with Arceus? Or because Arceus was a gamble, do they just go back to kind of the similar formula with like Sword and Shield? And that was a worry of mine. Apparently, they were just like, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to take a chance here. And we're going Arceus. And I'm so goddamn excited. I don't think I've been this excited for a Pokemon game in years. Don't get me wrong. I was excited for Arceus, but I had a lot of trepidation. I am just balls to the wall in on this. It's like a week and a half after my birthday. Let's fucking go.
I have never really been excited for a Pokemon game before, other than Pokemon Snap, because I've always been in and out of Pokemon, and I got Arceus because I was bored and the reviews got me, and then it was like in a slower year could have been like shortlists for game of the year for me, because I had so much fun with it. And so now I'm super hyped. John in the chat, sexy professors, immediately Googles. Yeah, the hype is real. The
hype is. Oh, we know we're gonna get some weird porn before the game even comes out.
I guarantee you it's already out there. So yeah, let us know if you're excited for Pokemon Scarlet Violet. Let us know your thoughts.
Let us know which professor you'd like to boink.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts on the state of play. Let us know your favorite Star Wars games. But before we do any of that, let's go to the rumor mill, Cayman. We got a few quick rumors to talk about. This is the first one. So this is something I don't know that we talked about the original potential like rumor of this, but the rumors are now almost seemingly guaranteed that we are going to be getting a GoldenEye HD re-release soon. And the reason came, and this is coming from Andy Robinson at IGN, as shared by internet sleuth Wario64, achievements for an Xbox version of the classic N64 shooter have appeared on Microsoft's servers, suggesting that a release is imminent. Previously, this is not pulling from Andy right now. Previously, like the last rumors, there was like some leaks that some people at Microsoft had been like playing the game, but this is like the servers are telling us that they're trophies. So like, I don't know how much clearer a rumor can be. But here we go. I should have just kept reading. going back to the story, it was first spotted earlier this year that Rare developers were seemingly playing an Xbox version of the FPS as their progress was being logged on a tracker site such as True Achievements. Last year, it was confirmed that Microsoft had to shelve an already completed remaster of the classic N64 game for the Xbox 360 back in 2007, following licensing issues and miscommunication between license holders and a young team who rushed ahead to create it. A working build of GoldenEye 007's canceled Xbox 360 remaster was leaked onto file sharing sites, allowing those with access to the files to play it via a modded console or PC emulator. At the time, VGC reviewed the leaked GoldenEye Xbox build and called it, quote, the greatest remaster you'll likely never play, end quote. But it sounds like, Cayman, we might be getting to play it pretty soon. Do you think we're going to see this on Sunday at the showcase?
I think the odds are high.
I think the odds are high too.
I think that's like a solid get for Xbox, which 100% right now needs a solid get. So yeah, I think the odds are high. I guess my one hesitation on the whole thing is just, does anyone like, how is that going to land?
Yeah.
We live in different times. Sure, there's a lot of nostalgia there, but also shooters right now are very different than they were when, GoldenEye released. I think it'd be awesome if it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So then the question is like, what type of remaster is it?
Yeah, exactly. That's my biggest question is this just like a Rare replay where it's basically just like a complete, like untouched port of the old game? Or is this, have they touched up the graphics? Have they redone anything? Because you might remember, I don't remember the year, somewhere around 2010-ish, they did a remake of GoldenEye on Wii with Daniel Craig instead of Pierce Brosnan, which fucking, how dare they? But so like, is it going to be like in that style? I don't know. But yeah, I could see this kind of feeding that nostalgia for like a beat. And then, I don't know. But as John just mentioned in the chat, Rare's like, the rumor is that Rare is making it. So like, if anyone could potentially give it justice, it's the people that made the original. So we'll see. I'm very interested to see what this looks like, but who knows?
I don't know if I trust it.
Yeah. We'll see.
I don't know if I trust that we'll probably see it. I don't know if I trust it'll actually be any good.
Sure. Even though that Rare's doing it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Even more so because Rare's doing it.
Well, because also, like, have you played GoldenEye since we were kids?
A few years ago, we busted out the old N64 and we played it. And
the sad truth is that game sucks.
The story sucks. The actual missions are terrible.
Like when we were kids, it was incredible because we didn't have a game like it. But like in 2022's standards,
and like I said, I don't know if I trust Rare to rebuild an entire game based off an original one and then turn it into anything more than what it is. I just don't know. I don't trust it.
Yeah. No, I think the emojis that come through in the chat aren't as clear to me. It sounds like John was actually upset that Rare is the one that's making. He followed up and said, "No, Rare doesn't make great shooters. Servers can't handle hit reg." But like they made the OG one. So like if we like the OG one, then
here's the issue with that though, is that the OG one was made on an N64.
True.
And that was,
and as we were just saying,
almost 30 years ago. You know,
yeah, for sure. But we'll see. Hope maybe next week we're gonna have a thick show.
Oh my god, the show is going to be so fucking juicy.
Yeah, and so maybe we'll talk about it next week. And maybe Cayman, we'll be talking about another rumor, which is from Tom Henderson. Tell us about it, Cayman.
So this comes from Tom Henderson at tryhardguides.com. He says the creative mind behind the likes of Metal Gear Solid and Death Stranding is working on a new title currently named Overdose. Early footage that has been sent to me under the request of anonymity seems to show Mama from Death Stranding wearing a blue dress. The game, however, does not appear to be a Death Stranding 2 and just features the actress who portrayed Mama, Margaret Qualley. Footage shows the character walking through dark corridors with a flashlight in third person, but it's been suggested that the game can be played in first person too. A jump scare at the end of the footage shows game over, followed by a Hideo Kojima game overdose.
So this leaks today.
Mhm.
And then Jeff Keighley, who is famously good friends with Hideo Kojima, posted a GIF. It was like, "Oh boy, here we go," or something like that. And so people had interpreted that as like this leak. Maybe this was going to be one of his big gets for Summer Game Fest on Thursday, potentially. But my guess is that this is going to be, because like Margaret Qualley being in this as well. I don't know. I mean, I know that it's not like you can't have the same actor in a different franchise, but I feel like this is going to be like Ground Zeroes was to Metal Gear Solid 5. This will be to the next Death Stranding, like whether it's a prologue or whether it's just like a short game that's connected to it. Maybe it's in the same universe and just is totally different. Maybe, I don't know, but I would be shocked if using Margaret Qualley again and it not be connected to Death Stranding. But what are your thoughts?
I don't want to like jump back an hour to when we were talking about Star Wars, but I don't know if you know this fun fact. But actually, Force Awakens is a prequel to Days Gone.
Whoa. Starkiller becomes Deacon St. John.
He does. It's true. It's very true. Actually, no. I think you're spot on with this, man.
So are you saying that this is a prequel to Death Stranding 1?
Probably. I mean, sure.
Or you just had this thought and we had to go back.
I just had this thought we had to go back because
I understand.
both
full stop.
Whitmer.
I get it.
Yes,
I get it.
Thank you. Actually, let's go back another step. Let's talk about Fool's Gold again. This could very well be like a prequel to Death Stranding. I never played Death Stranding. Maybe, I don't know. Never will. We'll see. I think you can definitely have overarching characters. Look, Norman Reedus was supposed to be in Silent Hill. So,
yeah.
This could be very different. I think with Kojima, the fact that we know Death Stranding 2 is currently being worked on, it makes way more sense for this to be a Ground Zeroes type game. I think it kind of works in, like, I don't know what happens to Mama in Death Stranding. She could live.
I honestly don't remember, and I played the game.
Who fucking knows? It's a Kojima game, so maybe no one knows, honestly. But yeah, I do. I think it makes more sense for this probably to be connected. Either that or Kojima is just being Kojima right now, and this is Metal Gear Solid 8.
Oh my god, what if we skip
Metal Gear Solid
overdose? And like, look, it's not uncommon for a studio to be working on two games at the same time. Like Naughty Dog does it. Insomniac is somehow making Spider-Man 2, Wolverine, and probably another Ratchet and Clank game all at the same time.
Yeah, so but I think the difference there though is that these teams are massive. Like, these are huge studios. I don't know if that's necessarily true with Kojima Studios, whatever it's called.
At Kojima Studios, he single-handedly makes all the games himself, right? Like, he does.
I honestly wouldn't be shocked if that was true.
I don't know the size of their team.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, maybe the team's a lot bigger. God, who knows? Legitimately, who knows? When it comes, there's one thing I will say that I'll never make an assumption about, and that's anything related to Kojima. He's a lunatic.
He is a wild card.
A full-fledged bonkers bonanzas.
Yeah.
Matthew McConaughey slurping his water, saying some shit about running a food truck. Okay.
Oh boy. So there's a lot to unpack here, and I think it's 50-50 whether we see it on this weekend. The theme of the day right now is going back in time. We're going back to The Force Awakens one more time. John says, "Did you know The Force Awakens is a prequel to a story about a person sinking hours into the trilogy that is garbage? Also, the best thing for episodes 1 through 3 was episodes 7 through 9. So, there's a lot to unpack here, essentially. But Cayman, we've reached the end of our show.
Whoa.
And we always end our shows by talking about and updating the 2022 release calendar. We've already briefly mentioned Mario Strikers this Friday, The Quarry this Friday, Strikers coming to Switch, The Quarry coming to PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. So if you're interested in some spooks, hit up The Quarry. If you're interested in some soccer, hit up Mario Strikers. And then also, as of right now, as of recording, the June's PlayStation Plus games are up. So we have God of War on PS4, Naruto to Baruto Shinobi Striker.
That sounds
no
awful.
idea what the fuck that is. And then Nickelodeon
Where's Evan
All-Stars
Brando
Brawl.
when you need him?
Who knows? At this point, he could be anywhere.
He's
Who
probably
knows?
right behind me, trying to stab me in the back again. That bastard.
That bastard. Hey, you know, he probably is like. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a restraining order in the works with how often we talk about him on the show.
That's actually probably fair.
Yeah, we might never see him again. But with that in mind, folks, that is the end of our show. Thank you for coming along the ride. Thank you to John for riding shotgun in the chat, chiming in. We love that. We would love it if you would chime in the chat throughout. So come give us a follow on twitch.tv/Spotlight Games pod, he says without conviction, so that when we go live, you'll know, and you can come join us, talk to us about Star Wars episodes 1 through 7 and 9 and 8. And hey, why don't we give a shout out to Sleep as the Poet? Yeah, came in, got a little shirt going on.
Hell
Cute
yeah,
shirt.
Sleep as the Poet. Love it, bro.
Check it out. You can follow us on Twitter at Spot Games Pod. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Spotlight Games Pod. You can follow Cayman at Kid Cayman. You can follow me at Patrick Schwag. Colorado Avalanche going all the way. Tune in when the Stanley Cup Finals start and a to be determined date. And next week, actually, let's say this, Cayman.
Okay.
This weekend, Sunday, we're toying with the idea of doing another live reaction to the Xbox games and Bethesda showcase. So if that's something you're interested in, keep an eye on our socials for that. Make sure you are following Twitch so that you know when we go live for that. And then, next week, we're going to have a thick one, folks.
We gotta love it.
Folks. But thank you again for listening, watching, streaming. We appreciate you. We love you. Cayman. We've brought it back.
Bring it back.
But let's bring it back one more time.
Let's bring it back.
Namaste.